Another quick video today on cleaning fountain pens. I've got a couple here that I've been cleaning, as you can see up the top, but the first one I'm going to show is the Sailor King of Pen. Now all the Sailors are very similar in cleaning strategy and cleaning method, with a couple of small differences, but I'll take you on how I do clean it. I thought I'd show the demonstrator, of course, so you can see a variety of different areas of the pen that otherwise you can't see on your other models. So the first thing you want to be doing is obviously taking the pen apart, taking off the cap and taking off the barrel. This one I have just cleaned. The best way to clean it is just to run it under the tap, run through some water through it. You can buy these special Sailor syringes that are designed, if I just see, I've just done this, so it's a little bit wet, but they're designed actually to sit on the end there. They push in. And then you can fill and empty the pen in a very, very easy fashion with your syringe. They come in this lovely little box set, as you can see, which has an extra syringe, and it comes with a converter and some other pieces in there as well. So these are really great. These are made by Sailor, and as you can see, they're pretty cost effective. Once again, I think I got that one from Bookbinders in Melbourne. To dismantle the nib and the section, your best way to do it again is just hold the nib as such and just pull it out like that. It does come out relatively easily, and those two, of course, your feed and your nib can be dismantled and then cleaned. Obviously run that under a tap to get that nice and shiny again, which is what I've done, and obviously clean the front and the back. And the same way again with the feed, you want to run it through. You want to make sure you get everything out of those tines there. I know there are people who use like dental floss to clean this out as well. I think if you're going to use inks that pigment and get stuck in there, it can be quite a good way to clean out any sort of pigment kind of blobs. But I don't tend to use those sort of inks, so I won't have that issue. Specifically with the King of Pen, and you can see in here, because I have just cleaned it, you can see that you get a bit of condensation because water does get in underneath there, which can look a bit average. So the best way to do that actually is to remove that cap there. So you can see you'll get this piece will come off there, which is obviously just your little trim, and as well as that you'll have your external piece that'll come out and your internal section with all your different areas. And then my recommendation, of course, would be to just get a microfiber cloth of some variety. This is obviously quite a big one here, but it's actually and just get in there and give it a bit of a clean, a bit of a polish. You can see, get any of that condensation out of there, which is always going to be your best way to clean inside the cap there. Otherwise it can look pretty bad, especially on your demonstrators. Obviously on your regular King of Pen or your regular Sailors, you're not going to notice it, but of course it's always important to realize that water is going to sit in there, so it's often not a bad idea to clean it out in that way. So if you've dismantled your nib and your feed and your section there as well, another place you'll see a lot of ink getting in here, ink, but also water when you do clean it out, is actually above your inner cap. So of course all these Sailor pens do have that inner cap, which of course when you do cap the pen, obviously stops the nib from drying out. And if you can see here, I'll just get this, if you push it up and you push it up there, you can see that actually moves. That inner cap does go up and down. So a couple of ways to clean it. One of the easy ways is if you do just push it up and just shake any water that gets caught underneath it out. It can be somewhat successful, but again, especially for the demonstrators, I would actually recommend going another step further to cleaning it out. This step involves a rubber band and something a bit thick. So a thick dowel, or this is just a Artline permanent marker. But what I like to do with this is you just pop your rubber band over the end of your marker there, and actually just pop it up in here, push it up and actually turn it around, and it should That might be a little bit thick, that permanent marker. But use a slightly thinner one. And put it over the top as such. You can see that there. Not working so well for me. There we are. And put it up in there so it's tight and just turn it. And it will just pop straight out like that. And it's a really, really easy way to just be able to dry it off. And also clean and dry out the inside of the cap there without your inner cap. So that's always going to be the best way. And again, that works for all your Sailor pens, whether it's the King of Pen or your regular model. You know, very, very straightforward way to take these out, because they are just friction fit. And I would get up there again with a cloth, just bunch it up and just give it a bit of a clean, because it does get a bit dirty up there. And does get a bit, especially when you clean it out with water, you really want to get rid of any watermarks, especially again on your demonstrator models. These are really easy to fit back in. Again, I would just get that same marker, which is this one over here, and just push it back up. If we can get that up in there, push it up in there. In fact, I might use a thinner marker just to push it in. There we go. And that's back in there now. As you can see, it sort of seals at the top, but that's all back in. That's not going to come out. So that's a really good way to clean the cap and the inner cap of your pen. So then obviously putting it back together once it's all dried. Again, you can see now that I've cleaned these, they're lovely. And there's no watermarks in there as well. Again, some people aren't so worried about that, but I find the watermarks look a bit not so good. So the way to obviously reassemble these is to, you probably can't see that, there we are. You've got your cap and your section there. And of course your ring, which sits under there. And that'll just sit over the top as such. And so what you'll see then, if you can see that, this will just screw down. You can see that's just obviously threading on and sitting quite nicely back onto your section channel. Make sure that's really lovely and tight. And of course that should sit in like that. Your next step, of course, will be to reassemble the feed. Now, these Sailor feeds, if you can see that, there's a little notch back here. And again, same for all the Sailor nibs. Your King of Pen nib, of course, is a very, very big nib, but all your Sailor nibs will have the same method. And if we can get really close, you can see it should just slide on and sit there. If we can see that as a little ridge at the end there, and it's going to just sit in that little space. And if we turn it over, you can see when it does sit in that little gap, it should line up pretty much perfectly on the other side. So once it's sitting in there, we want to put it back in the feed. And once again, for your Sailor feed, it should just slide right in like that. Make that comb-like noise, and that looks pretty much perfect to me. So that's obviously all sitting nicely and reseated and cleaned. And then of course your end cap will just screw back on, and your top cap again is clean and ready to go. So all looking quite lovely, but we put it all back together. That's your Sailor King of Pen, or any Sailor model that's now clean, dry, and ready to be re-inked and reused.